Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Gripe, the show for short, sweet reviews of new release movies, plus the one thing that annoyed me the most. And today I'll be talking about fantastic beasts and where to find them. And there are minor spoilers. The wizarding world in America is enduring some dark times with dangerous beasts, but that won't stop Newt Scamander from protecting them from darker forces lying in wait. The film stars Eddie Redmayne, Catherine Waterston, Dan Fogler, Alison Sudol, Ezra Miller, Samantha Morton, Ron Perlman, and Colin Farrell, and the film is directed by David Yates. Just a quick disclaimer, I am not a huge Harry Potter fan, so I probably didn't get all of the Easter eggs that were in the movie. I've seen all the movies, but I haven't read any of the books, so this is really just me looking for some light entertainment. The film is based on a book of the same name within the Harry Potter universe. Redmayne plays that book's author, Newt Scamander, who's a magic zoologist of sorts. He comes to America for a specific animal breed, but finds that magical beasts are being targeted by the wizards in America. And he also finds himself suddenly mixed up in this plot of deception and corruption that seems to be going on in the wizarding world in America. But with the help from a no-mag, which is what Americans call muggles, and this disgraced investigator, he basically gets enveloped into this plot. Redmayne's performance really drives most of the film. He really is adept at being that socially awkward character. He's gotten that down to a science pretty much. But I also have to give credit to Dan Fogler because he brings this comedy to his role pretty much through his facial expressions alone. He has that just like dumbfounded look on his face throughout the movie, but it works so well. Likewise, Colin Farrell and Samantha Morton both give mysterious and effectively dark characters. And then there's Ezra Miller, who is downright creepy. I didn't even recognize that was Ezra Miller, but his character is just creepy. The rest of the cast certainly shines as well, from Waterston to Sudol, and this really bizarre cameo from Ron Perlman, although he is CG in this movie. There's also a surprise cameo at the end, which should make the inevitable sequel interesting. I'm not going to say who it was, but it should surprise you. Unless you want to find out who it is, you can certainly look on the internet because it is everywhere. The creatures are also one of the driving points of this film. The visuals are for the most part pretty good, but not everything is up to the same standards as certain things. Like some of the creatures are just gorgeous, and a few others are goofy, but the visual effects are not all that toned. Still, it's wonderful to stoke the imagination with some of these critters, and that's the most important part here is really the imagination behind these beasts. Some are adorable, some are powerful, and some are downright scary. There is a larger plot at work, but fortunately the creatures do play an important role throughout the story. It's almost that they kind of seamlessly get Newt into this situation, and there's even this character that's similar to the lost smoke monster, which, I can do without. David Yates, who directed the last 4 Harry Potter films, returns to maintain some consistency in the aesthetic of the franchise. And while his direction is not overly remarkable, his tone is certainly attractive. Much of the beauty comes from the set pieces and the costumes because this film does take place in the 1920s, so it does get that old-fashioned sense to it. But above all, he does a great job of showing how wizardry integrates into the real world. And then something else that really kept my interest was how this was set in an adult wizarding world. Up until now, everything we've seen has been at a student level. It's all centered at Hogwarts, with only some tangential glimpses at the larger world. But this expands the world beyond the youth to see how wizards interact in practice once they get out of school. This is how they interact in the real world. You get to see some of the political structure, organized crime, law enforcement, all these aspects of the wizarding world that really you didn't get a lot of previously. And it's really good to give that other perspective on it when all we've had in the past is just these kids in school. But it's also understandable that this might drive some of the younger viewers away, which is why you got to have these, creatures to really keep their attention. Still, the real world aspect of it is nowhere near as bad as the trade negotiations as something like in The Phantom Menace. My key gripe is probably going to get me crucified, but the plot of this movie is way too scattered, giving us an almost pointless storyline within it. And it really does take a while for the story to get going before introducing us to this really powerful no-mag family. And despite their prominence in one particular scene, their purpose is never really explored. Spending a little more time with them might have made their place in the story seem more valuable. Instead, they really are just pseudo-antagonists with nothing substantial to offer the story. That's Jon Voight's character and his family. And I gotta put this on J.K. Rowling because even though she is brilliant at building worlds, she probably needs much more time to actually build a more cohesive story that's completely flushed out. It almost like this should be a full book rather than a 2-hour movie. Instead, it is a 2-hour movie, so a lot of the stuff she wants to do are really just kind of thrown in there and they don't have a great impact on the story. In fact, the surprise at the end almost makes it feel like a Scooby-Doo ending because so many things are thrown at us that when they do finally reveal the ending, it's like, oh, okay, not sure how we got to this in a logical sense, but I guess we did. So the plot of this movie is just way too scattered, but it does give us, a nice clean conclusion and hopefully opens the door for something more in the future with this universe. The magic and fantasy is what draws you in, along with the unique characters. It's also a great way to expand the Harry Potter universe with new ideas and perspectives. Even though the plot suffers from never landing on solid ground, the result is nevertheless an entertaining fare. I'm going to give this movie a 7.5 out of 10 for being visually fun, great acting, great world building, but just a really messy plot. Let me know what you thought of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. If you enjoyed it, if you're a Harry Potter fanatic, tell me where I went wrong. Let me know some of the Easter eggs I might have missed in the film. And that does it for this episode of Key Gripe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye. Hey gang, thanks for watching this video. If you like what you see, you can click to subscribe to check out my other videos right here on YouTube. Or you can click the link to check out my website to find out about all of my other projects, including my podcasts, as well as my books. So what do you say? Click away.